Welcome to the Wisdom to Wealth podcast. This is the podcast where we interview the wealthiest entrepreneurs and business owners in the world so that they can share their journey on how they went from zero to wealth. I'm your host, Shamar Star Cox, TV producer and marketing coach. My goal is to help 6 and 7 figure business owners create binge worthy content that attracts and converts their followers into customers. I am also the founder of the Convert Content to Cash Challenge. So if you are on here and you want to know how to create content that sells, feel free to comment or DM the word challenge accepted on TikTok or Instagram, and I will personally send you an invite. Today, we have the lovely Taylor Tieman with us. She is a business and trademark attorney, content creator, speaker, and mentor, known for her expertise in legal protections and business education, which is something that we all need. So I'm so happy you're on the podcast today. Taylor is a business and trademark attorney, content creator. Oop, I just read that. Her firm's hallmark service, the Legal Miga membership, provides accessible legal support tailored specifically for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Taylor specializes in trademarks, contracts, copyrights, podcasts, and business formation, guiding her clients on how to protect their brands, services, products, and content through strategic preventative measures. Now, I really love that this is what you're doing, Taylor. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, actually, before I ask you for your journey, tell us why it's so important as a coaching business, as a startup, as an entrepreneur, for you to legally protect yourself.
Yeah, I think it's important to have those conversations early because a lot of times we're talking to business owners when they aren't getting paid, they can't recoup, an invoice amount, they're dealing with somebody taking their intellectual property. So protecting early, I think, is very important, and also so you can kind of educate yourself on what you need to be aware of while you're going through that journey as a business owner, because legal is something just we can't ignore it.
It's so true. I remember when I was starting my business, I started my business in 2021, and it probably was like 2022 when I realized, oh, I need to get me some legal documents. I think like when you're operating online, even if you just have a website, you have to have terms and conditions. You have to have privacy notice. And then me as a TV producer working in television, we couldn't work with anyone unless we had a contract in place.
Yeah.
So even when it came to just shooting their face, we need to make sure that we had their agreement on paper. They actually had to sign those release forms. And so I thought about all that when I was starting my business. And I remember purchasing a package. I don't even remember who it was from. Just somebody had mentioned it, and she had like a whole legal package that had like these different documents. And to me, it has been the best because even when I am in my CRM and I'm creating new products, it always asks you for the terms and conditions, the privacy policy, your return policy, all those things. So it's really important to have that. So I love that we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. But of course, this podcast really is about your journey to wealth. So take us on your journey from zero to wealth.
Oh man. Well, I think starting a business definitely has a lot to do with it. But I did start out as an attorney first, wasn't running a business, and was working for law firms, just kind of chasing a paycheck, unfortunately, and finding that not a lot of legal positions as attorney roles were going to be super fulfilling. I tried a bunch of different types of positions, different roles in different law firms, and ultimately I just was like, I'm not only not doing really the area of law that I want to be in, but I'm also really overworking myself. And, the paycheck was like, okay, but I still was not at what I thought I would be making and what most people probably think lawyers make out the gate immediately. So I just was like, something's gotta change. So looking around and testing out, like, can I start my own law firm? Can I do this? Can we get clients? And luckily it's proven to be successful after a little over 5 years.
Nice. I feel like that's a magic number. Well, let me not say magic, but it's a good number, five. Typically, around five is when businesses start to see that they're profitable and things are good. They have their systems, it's working. So I love
Yeah.
that. Now, I love when you started. You said, you didn't have it in your mind to start this business. Like you were a lawyer, but after all that work, you just didn't feel like that you were making the money that people think lawyers would make. And I think a lot of us go through that because even for me, I'm a TV producer and I worked in television for over a decade. And I'm probably coming up on my ninth or 10th year working in television. I was not even close to making the money that I wanted to be making, that
Yeah.
which you think a TV producer should be making. And
Yeah.
so I love that you made this decision to actually step out and start your business. So talk us through your mindset when you were starting your business, even when it came to, okay, it's not just about starting the business. I also have to market. I also have to do selling. So talk us through your mindset, how you were able to overcome any limiting beliefs.
Yeah. I initially, I just was at a point I was working for a firm and I luckily I talked them into letting me work from home. So I hit a point where I was like, I don't want to have to go back into a law office. So I really want to be able to work from home. I started kind of forward thinking of like, we want to have a family, want to have kids. I want to have a flexible schedule. And if I'm, the goal wasn't to be making a ton of money with the law firm immediately. Like that would have been nice. But I was like, with the money that I'm making in my associate lawyer position, I might as well just like start my own thing. Cause it's not like I'm ditching like multiple six figures to like start my own thing. So I was just initially like, let's try and do this. Finding other people who had similar firms to kind of what I wanted or what I ideally thought I would structure it like was really helpful to see that people are doing it. And I just was like, if they can do it, I can do it. Talking to them was very helpful though, because a lot of them kind of gave me the background on like their experience, like where they had worked before. And I realized not a lot of them had like this stacked resume that you would think that you would need to start a business or start a law firm. So that was definitely helpful, just asking people questions and finally realizing like I think I can do this.
I love that, right? Because oftentimes we think we're the only ones. We think we need all this experience. We think that we need to know everything before we step out on our own. I was having a conversation with my mom yesterday, and she was telling me something of how she was feeling. And the way she was saying it was like, oh, I'm the only one who ever goes through this. And I had to stop her and say, you're not the only one who goes through that. Like everyone goes through that. If you talk
Yeah.
to more people, you will know you're not in this alone. And so that's what you did. You were just like, you know what, let me just talk to some people. Let me surround myself. And I feel like, especially when you're starting out as a business owner, that's like the number one thing you need. You need that community because it can get lonely and it can get hard trying to build your business and thinking that you need to be the expert in all the areas. You need to know all the things. And but none of that stuff is true. You just need to serve your audience and serve your clients. So talk us through how you serve your clients now, whenever they're working with you, whenever they're coming to you. How do you serve them?
Yeah, so we operate virtually and remote, which is nice. We just got actually an actual office space in the last year after 5 years, which is cool. But like I barely use it. I still work from home most of the time, but we operate remotely. We work with business owners, either retail or online businesses. A lot of service providers, but a lot of also folks that are selling like really cool products and in the consumer space. So that's neat too, but most of our businesses are small businesses, small owned, like just a couple handful of owners, which I really much prefer to be working with because we get to be very hands on with them. But we help them legally protect kind of the foundational structure of their business. So entity formation, looking at like LLC or corporation, trademark protection, so protecting the branding, and then also a lot of contract work to protect the relationships within the business. And then depending on the type of business, we kind of go out from there. But everybody's kind of looking at like base level foundational protection to start with.
I love that, especially like talking about forming the entity, talking about the trademarking, like that. Those things are super important because you do want to protect your brand. And we do see people online where they take a long time to protect their brand, and then somebody else comes in and swoops in and takes it, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh man.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you're able to provide those services. So let's talk through. Building a business is not easy, right? How do you protect your mind from the negative thoughts of I'm gonna fail? I don't like selling. Like, how do you protect your mind?
Yeah, I think just reminding yourself and talking to other business owners that like everybody has to start from somewhere. And having friends that are business owners is very helpful because if you look online, it looks like everybody's just winning all the time. Everybody's making like so much money, but like in real life, like the receipts people are posting online do not match like what they're actually making. And like we know because we have a lot of those conversations with business owners and they'll be like, I am down on this contract and somebody owes me 20K, but like they're posting something completely different online. So like people aren't seeing that part, which is I think important to kind of toss into the mix of like if you are somebody that compares yourself to other people and their success, everybody's starting from scratch for the most part, unless you get a business like sold to you or handed down to you. But a lot of people are starting like brand new. They don't always know what they're doing. There are mistakes that get made. So like worrying about that stuff is good, but it shouldn't be all consuming because it happens to everyone.
I love that you touched on this comparison piece because it can be very easy for us to go on social media and see someone winning and then be like, what's wrong with me? It even happens to me too. I work in social media and I don't even go on social media to scroll because it can be very depressing and
Yeah.
make you feel like your life is not good, even though you're putting in just as much work, you're doing as much work or whatnot. Um, in hosting this podcast, I have recognized that there are people who have come on the podcast, they've hit the numbers that we have a requirement for people to hit before they can actually join the podcast. So they hit the number, but um, even though their business may be successful, their personal finance may not be, because like the business may not be making enough money for them to pay themselves what they want to pay themselves yet. So I really like that you touched on that, because oftentimes when we're talking about like the wealth of our business, we're not talking about ourselves yet. Some of us aren't even there yet where
Yeah.
we can actually say, oh, personally, I'm wealthy, right? But the
Yeah.
business itself is doing it, because you don't want to build a business, make the money, and then be feeding yourself the money. It just doesn't make any sense. You need to be able to expand, you need to be able to grow. So I like that you touched on that, and really just being down to earth in the sense that, one, not everyone's living what they're saying, or two, there's more to the story than just what they're posting. And
Yeah.
three, like comparing yourself to them. Sometimes they are further ahead than you are,
Yeah.
right? But you just started, or you
Yeah.
just started 5 years ago. Like there's still more things that you need to implement in order for your business to really take off. So I love that you talked about that. Did you want to add anything else before I ask another question?
I don't think so. I like that. I like the point of not comparing.
It's, it's really important. That comparison can really destroy your day. So let me ask you this. What do you feel is your biggest blind spot right now in your business when it comes to getting to the next level? And how are you addressing it?
Oof. Um, probably. Sorry, I'm like choking. I'm not joking, but my throat's dry. Probably. Not probably. I know. Sales and hiring. I'm terrified to hire. One in like a legal sense of like, there's a lot that goes into it. Two, I'm not. I mean, I'm pretty good at delegating, but like, I need to hit a point where I have overworked myself to then start delegating. So I'm not great at that. And then sales in general, just not my fave. I know they're super important, and I know everybody's got different tactics, but they're just not my favorite thing. And they're like integral to being a successful business owner.
I really love that you brought up sales. I was hoping you would have said it, because I like to showcase entrepreneurs like you who are still successful, but still have this thing about sales, right? There are a lot of business owners who are just starting out who feel like, oh my goodness, I have to love sales. I don't know how to do it. And it's like, you don't have to love it. I meet a lot of business owners who are wealthy. Some of them have $1 million businesses who still don't like selling till this day, right? But when you are starting out, you do want to sell it. It really is important, right? Transforming your mind around it is important so that you can actually serve your audience in order to sell. But then you get to a certain point in your business where you no longer have to do it, and you actually just hire a sales team, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you want to get to a point where you can send it off, you can pass it off and delegate it to someone else who's going to do it better than you, because there are some people who absolutely love sales, right? And
Yeah.
it's like the goal isn't to stay in the role. The goal is to build up your business in a way that you can hire the experts so that you can continue to do the thing that you love. So I really love that you talked about that. And then there was another point that you said, but I lost it. I lost it. But I like having this conversation around blind spots, because I think some people think that when you get to a certain level in your business, you know all things. And
Yeah.
it's just not true. Like you're always going to have some type of blind spot. It's going to be something that's coming or happening, but it's really important that we stay focused to keep building and not let it to stop us. Did you want to add anything before I ask you another question?
I don't I like that point about, like, blind spots because I think when people, like, talk to me about just the business side of the law firm, a lot of lawyers will ask me, like, "How do you?" Because part of selling yourself as a lawyer online is to be online, and a lot of lawyers are like, "You do a really good job of that, like, how do you like, what's your secret?" I'm just like, "Just keep doing it." I don't like it at all, and it surprises a lot of people. And then a lot of people also get very surprised that like I don't love the idea of hiring a ton of people because they're like, "Why? You have the contracts, like you know how to hire." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into hiring." So even if you think that somebody looks good at something, it doesn't always mean that they like love it or that it's really easy for them. Like sales are very very difficult. Showing up is it's fun sometimes, but it is difficult to like get up, make a video, like put your face online. It's tough.
I agree. And so interesting hearing you say this because when I read your bio, you have so much content. It was like you have this blog and you're posting content and you're doing this. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is the same person who was like, I don't really like doing this. How did you step outside your comfort zone to start creating the content, whether you're shooting or you're writing to serve your audience?
I think initially I had somebody kind of pushing me. Like we hired a marketing consultant who basically was like, "You have to do this." And so I followed suit and did it and saw that it worked. And now it's at the point where it's like, okay, we know that we have to do it, but how can I kind of cater it to what I enjoy doing? So a lot of the content is less like I don't love face to cam video. I don't love live things just because like I need to be ready or like know what I wanna say and be prepared. Like, lawyers are usually wanting to be very prepared before they start talking. So, a lot of my content's more, like, blog style or, like, we do really heavy, like, graphics with captions because I like to be informative. We will show up and do, like, lives and workshops and stuff, but it's also catering to what you do like to do or else you're not gonna wanna do any of it, and then you're just gonna be like, "Screw it, I don't wanna do any of it."
I love this. You didn't say this word, but this is what I heard the whole time you were talking, which is alignment. You
Mhm.
want to be in alignment with creating content that works for you and that your audience loves as well. Like
Yeah.
you said, you didn't like live. I thrive live. So most of my content is live.
It's live, yeah,
Right?
some people are so good at live, and I'm like, "Mm."
You're doing great right now, that's for sure. um, but yeah, really being in alignment with the type of content that you're creating, what works for you. So, like for me, I teach my clients video marketing, which
Mhm,
means that the video marketing that I'm teaching them is for someone who aligns with video marketing. Right now,
yeah,
sometimes I'll get some people who's like, I just want to write. Okay, that's
yeah,
cool. We can teach you that, but this is a video marketing program. You might want to find somebody else, right?
yep,
And so it's really important to be in alignment because our personality style is what the people are attracted to, right? And
mhm,
so I remember last year my goal was to scale my business, and I tried lots of different marketing strategies. I did cold DMs. I was doing like a reality show to show a personal side. Like I was doing lots of different things. Girl, none of it worked.
It's
None of
because people can, like, sense when you're, like, uncomfortable, and there's a point where you just can't work through some stuff, it's like, I don't like that.
it.
It's
Like
okay, I don't like it.
that part. And I was so reluctant to start this podcast because I'm just like, what is the point of it? Like, how is this going to work? But what I realized is what built my business to six figures in 2023 was doing live video. Like people
Mhm,
love when I was live. I was teaching live. I get to teach master classes. And the podcast is just an extension of that. Like when
yeah,
I'm going live, it's just me. But now
yeah,
the podcast, I get to go live with someone else. And it's not just my audience, it's also their audience. And so this podcast strategy actually works for me because it just builds on what I'm already good at. All the other strategies didn't work, like you said, uncomfortable, brand new, had to learn it, and it just didn't align. Just even for my audience who's coming in, they didn't care for those types of things. Like if I recognize I'm strong on video, all my marketing needs to be around video. So I just love that you talked about that because it helps you to really be in alignment with who you are. You don't have to do something just because someone else did it and it worked for them, right? You
yeah.
want to do the thing that's going to work for you and for your audience. So I really love that you brought that up. So let me ask you this. What are like three main topics or main things that you typically share with your audience so that they can be successful in protecting their business?
Yeah, we talk a lot about there are 3 main things that I do like to hone in on, so glad that you honed it down to 3. Entity protection, so looking at either LLC or corporation, whatever entity is best for your business. There is no one size fits all. There are options that are good for lots of types of businesses, but you might be in a position where, like, you maybe don't need an LLC yet, or you might actually need a corporation and you can't form an LLC. So looking at whatever entity is best for the business. And then we also talk about branding and trademark protection. So, like the business name, the logo, the slogan, how does your customer or client identify the business itself? When they make that connection, that's your brand. So, we want to protect the ability to be able to ideally be the only business that can use that branding for those products or services. And then contracts. So, just foundational base level contracts, like making sure we're getting them in place with whoever we're hiring, whether that's contractors or employees. If we have business partners, if we have anybody working with us for us, they ideally should have some sort of contract in place so that we can protect that relationship, because 9 times out of 10, nothing's going to go wrong. But if something does, we want to have to fall back on that contract.
I love that. And I love that you said 9 times out of 10. So for the majority, nothing's going to go wrong. But just in case, you want
Yeah.
to make sure that you are legally protected.
Yeah.
What are three contracts for a business owner who's just starting out that they should have in place? And then a business owner who's probably at like the half a mil mark, what should they have in place?
Business owner that's just starting, I would look at like your main sales point. If you're service based, you definitely want to have a service agreement, and that can look like a million different things. If you're a coach, you want a coaching agreement. If you are a therapist, you want to have some sort of agreement between you and your client or patient. You want that relationship protected. It's tricky sometimes because people think like they name contracts different things. So contracts all have different names. It's all going to come down to you want a service agreement or service style agreement if you're a service provider. If you're selling products, whether that's online or in person, you want terms and conditions and terms to purchase your product that protect you. And that works similar, not the exact same, but very similar to a service agreement where you're now protecting that relationship between you and your customer and when they purchase from you. So those are like immediate things we want in place if you're just starting. If you have gotten to the point where you're making a significant amount more and you probably have, well, that usually means you have a lot more people around you helping you. So you probably have a lot more people that you've either hired or contracted out. So you want those relationships protected. So your contractors, you want signing some sort of agreement. You want your employees signing agreements. You're probably like collaborating or partnering with other businesses. Those should be in writing as well. So the more you grow and expand, the more business relationships that you have, which means those all have to be in writing too.
I really like how you keep saying this, protect the relationship.
Hmm.
You're not saying protect you. You're saying protect the relationship. I mean, in the sense you are protecting you, but protect the relationship. And I just feel like
Yeah.
that that's important. I remember when I have my service agreement for my clients, and they will sign it. And there's a portion of like, this is what she would pay, and this is what I would provide. And there was always a part where some people, especially last year, some people, I think I had like a handful of people that they will come into my program, they will pay the first amount and not pay the second amount.
Hmm.
And in my mind, I'm like, well, what can I do to get them to actually honor their agreement? One, I forgot that I even had them sign that contract.
Hmm.
I really did. And
Yeah.
so in myself, I wasn't honoring the contract. And I remember working with a coach that was like, there has to be some level of accountability. And it hit me. I wasn't holding them accountable.
Yeah.
So even when you're just starting out and you have these agreements, you want to make sure that you're also holding them accountable. Because some people, let me tell you right now, some people sign things without reading it. I don't know why
Oh yeah.
they do.
All the time. Most people do not read what they're signing.
That's bizarre to me.
Very common. Very co I think that's crazy, especially if you're spending a lot of money on something, like, you should probably read the contract.
It's bizarre to me. Like I've had people where I'm like, my program is $10,000. So I'm explaining to them what they love it, they're ready to join, they put down their initial deposit, and I send the contract, they send it back in a minute.
Mhm. Yeah, you're like, "You didn't read that."
Wild to me.
It
Wow.
happens all the time, all the time.
I learned from Oprah. I learned from Oprah. You should never put your signature on anything unless you read it. So
Yeah.
I read everything, even like when we were going like indoor skydiving or doing laser
Mhm.
tag or a virtual experience. I'm the one who's sitting there reading everything for my family. What I hate is when people say things like the person who's waiting for me to sign, "Oh, the contract just says," don't really care what you have to say.
Yeah.
I need to read this because I need to know what's at stake here. And
Yeah.
sometimes it baffles people when I want to read it. And it's because of what you just said. Most people don't read the contract.
Yeah, they
They're
don't.
just signing
Some
their
stuff when I read it, I don't even wanna do it anymore. Like, we went horseback riding, and I was, like, reading the contract, I was like, I wasn't thinking I could die on this horse thing, but okay.
right. I was in Turks and Caicos last year and we were doing jet skiing. And there was like two clauses in the contract that I was like, I had to cross it out. He was
Yeah,
like, doesn't matter if you cross it out. It does for me. I'm crossing. I don't agree to this at all. Because it was like, it was something bizarre. Like, if there's something wrong with a jet ski and you didn't cause it, you have to pay for it. I'm not signing that.
what?
But imagine people just come in like, "Doo, doo, doo, doo."
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Wild. Oh my goodness. Okay. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing that. I love it. I think it's really important. There are a lot of people who don't know that they need to have these agreements in place. I've met business owners who are in business for a long time. They're at six figures and multiple six figures, and they don't even have service agreements for their clients. Like
Yeah,
they've come through my program and then they've asked me for a template because they didn't even know that they needed one. And I'm like, especially when you are exchanging a certain amount of money, you want to make sure you have that in place.
yeah.
So, talk to us for those who are listening. How can people work with you? How can they get access to some of the contracts that you have created? And then I'll share the links on the screen while you're speaking.
Yeah, thank you. I have a law firm that is, like, pretty typical type of law firm. We will draft custom agreements for you, and so you don't have to do any of the work. But we also do offer contract templates for business owners through our library called the Legal Miga Library. And we created that as essentially a place for people to get the contracts that they need if they are not ready to work with an attorney yet, if they don't yet have the funds to get everything custom drafted yet, because they're a really good place to start. They're attorney drafted contracts. They're the same ones that we draft and use with our clients. They're obviously not going to be custom drafted for you, but it's a really good place to start. Fill in your information, fill in your services if you're a service provider. We have terms and conditions. We have all the website policies that you're going to need. We have, I think, over 40 different contracts at this point in there, and it's just kind of been growing ever since. So we got a bunch of cool stuff in there.
Love it, love it. And I already have it displayed on the screen if you need access to it. Let me tell you, this is what changed my business when I first started. Just downloading this library, being able to get access to it and seeing what agreements I needed, put that in place, and I felt more secure. So
Yeah,
that's why I was really happy that you came on the podcast and that you have your own library of templates so that people can get access to it. Do you
yeah.
want to talk a little bit about your membership, just in case those who want to join your membership?
Yeah, through the law firm, we also have a membership, and it's a legal services membership. So you would actually be a client of our law firm, and I think the special part of it is you get access to be able to ask us questions, strategize with us for a flat rate for a monthly fee. And that's really different from how a lot of other attorneys operate. Other attorneys are going to charge you by the hour to talk to them, but we kind of bake in those services and access to us for a monthly fee depending on what it is that you need. We have different tiers, but we do that so that you can feel comfortable reaching out, asking us questions, because that's how businesses learn, right? Like, you get kind of limited, and I think people feel very constricted when you're working with a lawyer when they're tacking on an hourly fee, and that's definitely not the point of what we do. Like, we want people asking questions and learning and figuring stuff out. If there's a bigger project that you need that's not included, then we talk about what would it be for that, but we also don't just immediately charge you for stuff like that. Like, we want people learning and figuring stuff out and working with us as a team.
I love that she said that. I remember, I wish I knew you 2 years ago when I was trademarking my nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so I hired this trademark lawyer. He's great, definitely great. But like you said, one question, $600
Mhm.
just for him to answer the question. If
Yeah.
he reached out to me via email to give me an update, $600. And I'm like, Oh my goodness. I mean, I didn't have a problem paying it, but it was just interesting. I'm like, you reached out to me. I didn't even ask for an update. Like you.
Yeah.
So I like that because it really does alleviate the pressure of feeling like you always have to pay for it. When it could just be something as simple as, should I check this box?
Yeah. Yeah.
$600 for that.
Yeah. And honestly, on our end, it's much easier. We don't have to bill you like an extra invoice just to answer like a quick question. Like full transparency, much easier on our side also to have something like this so that everybody gets like something good out of it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So the membership is on the screen. I definitely advise, like, as you're growing your business, join the membership so that Taylor can be able to assist you. Her team can be able to assist you. Again, you can just be able to ask your legal questions. You can have your contracts in place. You can protect your business. I also dropped the links on Instagram. If you needed access to it, you could just copy and paste it. Oh, actually, um, Taylor Renaya on Instagram just asked, is this different from Legal Shield? So if you're familiar with Legal Shield, do you want to talk about the difference between your program and Legal Shield?
Yeah, I think it's a similar I'm not fully 100% familiar with what Legal Shield provides you. I don't know if they also consider themselves attorneys. I would have to look at, but I know that they have a similar style of membership. What I think is really important is if you're going to join anything for legal, double check and see, are you working with an actual attorney or is it like a DIY, we're not attorney type of deal? Because we offer both. I'm not sure what Legal Shield is. But the ones that are like no attorney attached, they're usually cheaper, but it's also you got to do more of the work versus lawyer attached. It's a lot more custom, usually is a little bit more expensive, but you have a lot more hand holding with that relationship.
I like that you pointed out that difference, like making sure that you're working with an actual attorney, because that was one of your selling points for this program too, which was, I'm an actual attorney. We
Yeah.
actually do work with you. You can ask your questions and you can feel safe and secure in that. So I love that you shared that. So again, the links are in the chat. If you are joining us for the replay, the links will also be in the description on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram so that you can get access to Taylor's program as well as the templates, so that you can enjoy her services and really be able to work with her and follow her so that you can actually see her content, because she's also sharing information that's going to benefit your business through her blogs and through the different content that she is sharing. Taylor, thank you for coming on today, sharing about your services, sharing about your journey to wealth. Thank you to everyone who has listened. The best thing to do now is to take action on what you've heard. If she shares something that really resonated with you, take action on it so that you can also continue to build your wealth. We'll be back again tomorrow with another powerful episode. Our podcast is Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. You all have a great day.